Happy Memorial Day, everybody. I hope everyone had lots of fun this long Memorial Day weekend. I actually had a lot of fun myself, as yesterday I went to a pig roast with a lot of people from my hometown of Natick, Massachusetts. And okay, here's how I feel. I kinda had fun. But see, the problem is, I was never really one of the more popular kids, in my school. I was always more of an outcast, and I never really had a lot of friends. But see, at the time that I was still in high school, I thought that I did. But it's simply because I simply thought that anyone was my friend who I saw every day. I saw them every single day in school, and it was like 500 people, and that was fine with me. I'd get to talk to them for a little bit in the halls, and occasionally maybe even sit with some people at lunch. But that was 8 years ago since I graduated from that school, and those days are gone now. And I really miss those days a lot. I am in touch with a lot of them on Facebook, but that's not really the same. And a lot of the time, it's like when I see pictures of people hanging out with each other on Facebook, it'll always make me wish that I was there. I stated something very similar in one of my previous videos that I did a few years ago about how Facebook makes me really sad and depressed. And it sort of gave me a false sense of friendship, and when I first discovered it a few years ago, I tried adding all these people from my high school, and I was like, alright, finally, a way to bring the old days back. Like, oh wow, this is great being friends with all these people on Facebook who I haven't seen since high school. This makes me feel just like I'm right back there. And then in the fall of 2008 is when the Facebook chat thingy came out, and I started using that a lot. But it's like a lot of the time when I'd message people on there, they almost never respond. I've even had a few people block me on Facebook. And up until a few years ago, I wasn't really in touch with anyone from my hometown at all. But then one of my fellow classmates passed away because he died of cancer, which I couldn't believe. It's always very shocking and heartbreaking if somebody dies who's the same exact age as you, who you knew, even if you didn't really know them that well. And so I went to his funeral service, and almost everyone from my grade was there, and I don't think there were very many dry eyes in the house, if any. And a few months later, they had a fundraiser for him at this pub in the next town over from where I live. And I noticed that a lot of people had gotten a lot nicer to me than they were when I was back in school. So it made me want to reconnect with some of them. And I tried doing that. And sometimes it's okay, but a lot of the time I feel like it doesn't always work out the way that I want. Because sometimes I feel like they still treat me the same way that they did back when they knew me, back when I was in high school. And it really makes me feel sad. And as some of you know, I do have Asperger syndrome, so that makes it even harder for me to make friends. And I feel like a lot of people aren't very accepting of me. And it's like they reject me because I have a disability. I've been in a few support groups for people with Asperger's, but I feel like they don't really let me be myself in those groups, and they try to like tell me who I should be friends with. And if I'm gonna be friends with people, I'd rather be friends with people of my own choice. And a lot of the times, like when I go to these parties of people from my hometown, I kind of feel like I don't have a disability, because I'm out at one of those events, and it makes me feel like I'm a part of it, and it makes me feel good. But sometimes when I go to those, I kind of feel isolated. And I've had a lot of trouble, especially with girls. I'm not looking for a girlfriend, but for some reason I always tended to focus on female friends rather than male friends. Because I really do care a lot about people's looks. And I mean, there's this one really good friend that I have who I've known online for several years. He's from upstate New York. And he's very similar to me, and he was just having a miserable life. He's a little bit older than me, and it's like he's been trying not to grow up. I mean, he's had jobs before, but he's usually had trouble with them. And then he ends up right back at ground zero. And then finally his mom and his brother started getting all mad at him. And they finally kicked him out of the house. So then he came here to live with me. And I feel like all it's really doing is making me sad, because I mean, he's been succeeding since he's been here. But I miss him the way that he used to be. Yeah, and he'd always call me up on the phone, tell me these sad, sad stories. And a lot of them had to do with getting in trouble with girls. And I'm really gonna miss that. Because it's gotten to the point where I'm so depressed, I often like hearing sad stories. Since I'm sad all the time, hearing other people's stories makes me feel better, because it lets me, because I mean, one way that I feel like just about everyone that I went to high school with is like so much more successful than me. I mean, a lot of them are now married. Some of them even have kids of their own. And even if not, it's like they have a full-time boyfriend or girlfriend and they live with them. And I'm still living at home with my parents. And it makes me feel out of place.